What is the all-time greatest driving song? Night Call, Kavinsky. For driving in a city at night. Radar Love. M83, Midnight City. Just makes me think of driving through a big city for the first time and it's kinda rainy and I'm just looking out the backseat windows at all the lights and appreciating the vibe. Highway Star. For late night driving, Riders on the Storm by the Doors. Freebird if you're looking to speed. Eastbound and Down Smokey and the Bandit. If we're talking a long road trip, especially driving through the desert, I'd go with A Horse with No Name by America. Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue. ZZ Top, Log Range. Danger Zone. Panama, Van Halen. Came to say, can someone pretty please make a playlist on Spotify of these songs and share it with us here? Tom Petty, Runnin' Down a Dream. Gas Gas Gas, Manuel. She Sells Sanctuary. The Cult. Interstate Love Song. Born to be Wild. Hollywood Nights, Bob Seger. For me, it's Barracuda by Heart. Don't Fear the Reaper is a good one. I Ran, So Far Away, by A Flock of Seagulls. Or maybe Firewoman by The Cult. Sabotage, Beastie Boys. I find the instrumental of Baker Street extremely relaxing while driving, mainly if it's sunset time. Roundabout, yes, 1971. Ramble on Zeppelin. Move Bitch, Get Out the Way, Ludacris. I'm Gonna Be, 500 Miles, The Proclaimers. Everlong by the Foo Fighters, perfect for summer late night driving with someone you love. Burnin' for You, Blue Oyster Cult. Boys of Summer. Foreplay / Long Time. Jessica by the Allman Brothers Band. Up Around the Bend by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Cake, The Distance. Don't Stop Me Now. Well, I once got a ticket while blasting Machine Head as loud as my little teenage car could go. Carry On My Wayward Son, Kansas. War Pigs, Black Sabbath. Bohemian Rhapsody, Queen. Don't Fear the Reaper, Blue Oyster Cult. For nighttime driving. The Passenger. Go with the Flow, Caught S.A. Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Tears for Fears. Money for Nothing, Dire Straits. Bob Seger, Turn the Page, https://youtube. Gimme Shelter. Running on Empty, Jackson Browne. Led Zeppelin, Immigrant Song. LA Woman by The Doors. Rush. Willie Nelson, On the Road Again. The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. Tracy Chapman, Fast Car. California Dreamin', The Mamas and the Papas. All Along the Watchtower, Jimi Hendrix. Life's Been Good, Joe Walsh. Hot Rod Lincoln, Commander Cody version, thought the J.R. Brown version is pretty damn awesome. Black Betty by Ram Jam. Lunatic Fringe, Red Rider. One Headlight, The Wallflowers. It's Either Bad Habit by The Offspring, https://www. YouTube.com/watch, v=NA36LL05GVO, or Go with the Flow by Queens of the Stone Age, https://www. YouTube. Burning Down the House, Talking Heads. Focus by Hocus Pocus, thanks to Baby Driver. Drive by the Cars. Baba O'Reilly. Holiday Road. Top 3 I'm Seeing Are All Great. Radar Love. Highway Star. Panama. Thunderstruck. Kickstart My Heart, Motley Crue. Flirting with Disaster by Molly Hatchet. Dragula Rob Zombie. Eminence Front, The Who. Rebel Yell by Billy Idol always hits different on the highway. Radar Love by Golden Earring. Bat Out of Hell, Meatloaf. Slow Ride. Journey, Separate Ways. In the Air Tonight, Phil Collins. Life During Wartime. AC/DC Highway to Hell. Maggot Brain. Open Road Song. Boys of Summer. Road to Nowhere, Talking Heads. Supertramp, Take the Long Way Home. Bob Seger is driving music, said my mom on every trip over an hour. Ace of Spades by Motorhead. Truckin', https://www. YouTube. Judas Priest, Turbo Lover. More Than a Feeling, Boston. Depends a lot on the road and the car, and its inhabitants, but I'm going with Kraftwerk Autobahn. Spirit in the Sky. Under the Milky Way Tonight, The Church. Stylo, Gorillaz. Midnight City, M83. It's Late, Beacon School. Roadhouse Blues, The Doors. Days Go By, Dirty Vegas. Dramamine. Won't Get Fooled Again, The Who. Silver Sun Pickups, Panic Switch. Running Down a Dream, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Blinding Lights. Do It Again, Steely Dan. Tall Cool Woman in a Black Dress, The Hollies. Free Fallin'. Carry On My Wayward Son, Kansas. Tiny Dancer. Flirtin' with Disaster by Molly Hatchet is one hell. Anything by Bachman Turner Overdrive, especially taking care of business for a morning commute. Darude Sandstorm. Reptilia by The Strokes or Walking on a Dream by Empire of the Sun. Fast Car by Tracy Chapman. If you like solitary night drives and crying. Against the Wind by Bob Seger. She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. Pink Floyd, Young Lust. Be Quiet and Drive, Deftones. I Get Around Beach Boys. Ministry, Jesus Built My Hot Rod. Sad But True by Metallica. Highway to Hell by AC/DC. China Grove, The Doobie Brothers. I Remember, Cascade/Dead 5. What could be done to prevent mass shootings? A lot of these mass shooters aren't just coming out of nowhere, according to the study, https://efsgv.org/press/study 2/3 of mass shootings linked to domestic violence/ a solid majority of mass shooting were part of domestic violence or the shooters had a history of domestic violence. Mass shooting isn't generally the start, it's an escalation, and I think it's a pretty good indication that we really need to handle domestic violence and other such crimes a lot better, if not for how fucked up it already is, then to stop it from escalating into something worse. Stop turning shooters into celebrities in the media. Edit, some people are confused. 1. Not making them celebrities doesn't mean talking about mass shootings. Just not plastering their names and faces everywhere. 2. I'm British. I don't know what's best for Americans as well as they do. But here's some thoughts. I don't think you can copy-paste UK policy to the US. It's like changing someone's intrinsic identity. Take Iran for example. One of the lowest alcohol mortality rates. We banned it and our rate of mortality due to alcohol is one of the lowest in the world. You'd say something like, why should I give up something I enjoy and is part of my culture because a few bad apples take it too far? From talking to them, Americans view guns the same way. As a teacher, it starts with kids needing love and care at home, which leads to people having their basic Maslow needs met so they aren't constantly struggling. And mental health needs to become a priority instead of something we mostly ignore in the US. Sorts by controversial. Take mental health care and bullying seriously. What do other countries that don't have them do? Domestic violence laws that actually do something. 60% of mass shooters have past DV issues. But if you look at the DV numbers in cops, then you'll start to really see the problem. Make getting shot illegal. Make therapy more easily accessible for people who are middle or lower class. And actually take mental health and bullying seriously, instead of falsely advocating for it and brushing it off when people need serious mental help. Edit, I've accidentally left out another point I meant to make. I thought I'd share it upon remembering it. Better social safety nets, mental health help. Give everyone small, personal nukes. Reverse the Reagan-era policies that closed most of the state-run mental health treatment facilities. My family had a crisis with my brother last year and me and my father spent all day calling facilities all over Texas. Deal with the mental health issues and treat all people as valued parts of society and support them when they need it. Paying attention and actually doing something when there's a threat. Just look at the shooting by the 6-year-old a few weeks ago. His teacher, the victim, has retained a lawyer because there were multiple times that day where the kid was reported to have a gun and administration just kept blowing it off. Put LSD in the drinking water. There's no quick answer, in part because mass shootings combine many different underlying issues. For instance, the vast majority of mass shootings are related to organized crime, i.e. gangs and/or the drug trade. Thus, to reduce mass shootings, we should first look at our drug prohibition laws. If we are talking about high-profile mass shootings, our problem in the USA relates to several overlapping issues. It is relatively easy to acquire firearms. The legal mechanisms to deny a high-risk person firearms are very limited. Every country produces a small percentage of deeply problematic people, ours is unique in arming them. Other heavily armed wealthy nations, like the commonly compared Switzerland, make the use of firearms a responsibility of being a good citizen. American culture all too often celebrates firearms as an extra-legal tool for imposing your will. The modern world is a lonely world. People spend much more time alone now. This gets far beyond the scope of this reply, but many of our traditional social organizations have failed to adapt to the modern world. Young people are increasingly left without a community or direction. This amplifies the above issues. Addressing that is multi-generational work. Education. https://udo. b/q19qrubjic, https://udo. b/q19qrubjic. A friend sent this to me to explain an in-joke they had with other people. It wasn't intended to do this, but it depressed the fuck out of me. Because this right here / is the root of America's violence problem? Not, like, this exact guy, obviously not, he's way too young for that, but the attitude he evinces. The idea that using violence to solve problems is acceptable. The idea that violence makes you a real man. And, perhaps even more insidiously, the idea that might is right, that strength is moral and ethical legitimacy, that the person with the guns makes the rules. Because here's the thing, stricter gun control laws didn't work for Australia, because the laws didn't come first. What came first was that Australians had the Port Arthur massacre, the deadliest mass shooting in the country's history. And, collectively, with enormous buy-in and majority agreement, they said, what the fuck? The nation of Australia agreed, collectively, that the right to murder ought to be infringed upon, and, that decision having been made and passed in the court of public opinion, laws were then drafted which were consonant with what its people already wanted. I'll give you 3 guesses as to whether America has anything like that kind of groundswell of unanimous support, and the first 2 don't count. So what we need to do is make America have that groundswell. We need to change the country's relationship with violence. We need to do mass propaganda and social engineering to refute and contradict this idea we have in our heads that using guns is good. We are a warrior society, we believe in bloodshed and murder, we believe that real men are killers, and we need to stop believing all those things. This has the advantage of swinging the fight back in favor of common sense legislation, which hardcore gun nuts will never be able to advocate for because they are lunatics. The fantasy of gun ownership, remember, is proving you're a real man and a tough guy by shooting people. Hardcore gun nuts want to shoot people. That's why they have guns. If we shift that window, as happened in Australia, it becomes easier to make progress. This also has the advantage of ending the entire gun control debate. Why don't we repeal the Second Amendment? Because now we don't have to. We become like those other countries that have, comparatively, high private gun ownership but still don't have high rates of firearm homicide. We have guns but we don't want to use them. It's got nothing to do with legislation and everything to do with changing the hearts and minds of the average American. People need to have real honest conversations with their loved ones and friends when the red flags go flying. Many of these shootings are not random and the warning signs were present. Help that woman escape her abuser, tell your brother to grow the fuck up and stop being abusive, take your son's firearms when you know they are an abusive alcoholic, etc. Most of these people don't live in isolation and people turn a blind eye because they feel it's not their problem or place to insert themselves. Be brave and speak up. The United States has, among Western nations, the highest rates of deaths from despair, https://bigthink.com/health/deaths of despair/ suicide, drug overdose, and alcoholic liver disease. The United States also, among Western nations, has some of the highest rates of incarceration, https://worldpopulationreview.com/country ranking/incarceration rates by country, and police violence. https://www.prison policy. org/blog/2020/06/05/police killings/. The United States has the most expensive healthcare in the Western world. https://www. Health System Tracker. https://www. Research. org/facttank/2020/02/07/6 Facts about economic inequality in the U.S. The United States has the highest college costs in the Western world. https://www. Insider. com/cost of college countries around the world 2018-6 #United States 8202-28. The United States has the lowest minimum wage in the Western world. https://world population review.com/country ranking/minimum wage by country. The United States ranks as one of the most divisive according to residents in the Western world. https://www. Research. https://world population review.com/country ranking/murder rate by country. And, of course, the United States has more guns per capita than pretty much the entire Western world combined. I'm not even going to cite that. The commonly accepted figure is 414 million guns in the US, with a population of 330 million. That's more than 1 gun per person. And I say this as a guy who owns, no joke, more than 70 guns. All of this, simply put, means that the focus on guns specifically is bullshit. The United States is a festering, dying nation, much more akin to a third world country than a Western superpower. Hell, our rate of knife violence is worse than it is in the UK. https://www. Mirror. Co. UK/news/us news/America's knife crime figures worse 274355503. The commonly touted argument that the West is just as violent, but only with fewer weapons. Controlling for the weapons available to people in other Western countries, the United States is still more violent. As a kid who got expelled from school for having a firearm in my book bag in the early 90s. Probably get downvoted or whatever. I don't care. It happened. I was there. I still remember a few of their names. There's nothing you can do in some cases. In my case it was a build-up of school, parents, and everyone else not listening or not believing me that I was a victim of racist beatdowns. In my case, I grew up white in a black neighborhood. I was one of 2 white kids in the neighborhood. I got jumped every single day at school, after school while walking home or even while riding the bus. School district refused to do anything since it wasn't on school grounds. Cops didn't care. My parents didn't care enough to do anything but tell me to fight back. Their parents said it was a lie when the principal called. After they finally got confronted by a teacher or principal, they'd beat my ass even more for snitching on them. I grew tired of it. I took my dad's gun to school in my backpack. Waited till I was off school grounds and saw the group of kids start running towards me when they saw me walking down the street. I popped off 2 shots into the air and they took off running. I got extremely lucky in the whole situation. Cops came. They didn't arrest me because they saw the kids that I described huddled outside one of their houses and there was a witness that they were coming after me. They expelled me and I moved to another school. Those kids left me alone after that and I could peacefully ride the bus home from my new school. That gun finally solved my problem. But, I was almost a news story that went to jail. Shut down the news stations and pundits which are drumming up mentally ill people into thinking they're in a fight for your life scenario which justifies mass murder to them. Be nicer to everyone. Pretty late to this conversation but I am going to reply just for the sake of it. Might be somebody out there reads this and it makes a difference. These individuals usually do not operate in a vacuum prior to the violence. They will talk about it, post about it, behave differently beforehand. Lots of discussion in here about changing things to prevent it in the first place, but all that will take time. I had a real life run-in with an individual who was planning workplace violence. About a half dozen of us worked together to raise the alarm. There are no news reports or gravestones to read. This one had a happy ending, but unfortunately this message never gets out in the media. It's going to be a long road. Stop glorifying the shootings in the media. Do real work on mental health assistance, learn the causes of this disease, learn how to identify likely perpetrators, and get them the help they need. Conservatives, listen up. NRA, please do more. This is starting to look like big tobacco squashing their detractors. If the NRA put real horsepower behind mental health, they could make a big difference. Back down the toxic gun culture in the US. Sport shooting, hunting, collecting are not hurting people. Guns are seen as a means to an end or as an opportunity to be a hero/anti-hero in pop culture. That has to go. Wiping out all of humanity. Maybe if the government wasn't so incompetent and actually followed their own laws and procedures, there wouldn't be so many. They don't tell you on the news how many of these spree shooters were already on the FBI radar, and that there were actions that should have occurred to prevent them. They will never admit that, but it's true. Instead, the priority is making people shouldering bump stocks into felons and collecting tax stamps for SBRs and silencers. It's incompetence all the way down, if not outright maliciousness. Then the play is put the blame on responsible gun owners like somehow it's their fault. Anything to avoid any culpability. All you need to do is look where these mass shootings take place. There is a reason why they don't happen in places where everyone else has a gun stores, ranges, Texas churches, military bases, and why shooters pick places like schools, nightclubs and malls. Look at what happened in California with the last shooting and what happened in Greenwood Park, Indiana. And before anyone brings up Uvalde, we need to stop focusing on the outcome and focus on why this keeps happening. I'm not any sort of expert, but I do know that if we just get rid of guns, there's going to be a lot of fertilizer-based pipe bombs or Ford F-350s driving into crowded buildings. If you are already motivated to shoot up a crowded space, you likely are motivated to do other fucked up things. America has a violence problem. Most third world countries have violence problems that stem from fear, instability, and lack of feeling safe. Borderline personality disorders need to be understood and given complete compassion to. How is anyone supposed to heal without access to health care? Sick people require doctors, not police. US needs to address mental health issues and cost of living. Taking care of people's basic needs. Seriously tackling poverty, the housing crisis, and making healthcare universally available would go a really long way. Cruel societies churn out cruel people. Do something about the mental health of young men and boys in this country, as well as the government actually making society better for all. You feel like changing the culture of a nation of 350 million people? I don't know if there's an instruction book for that. Stop publicizing and glorifying the killer so much on the news. This isn't a joke. Have you tried not torturing and misguiding children? Which black and white movies are absolutely worth watching? 12 Angry Men, 1957. 7 Samurai, original 1954 version. Young Frankenstein. Dr. To Kill a Mockingbird. Casablanca. Psycho. Schindler's List. Edit for those who live in the US. This movie is streaming on Peacock. Some like it hot.